Is it? Okay, Commissioner Ion,
Here.
Commissioner Caleb,
Here.
Commissioner Chloe, here, Commissioner Ellie, here, Commissioner Harrison, Commissioner Yasmin, Commissioner Joe,
Here.
Commissioner Justin,
Present.
Commissioner Mason,
Here.
Commissioner Samita, Commissioner Sammy,
Here.
Commissioner Sophie, Commissioner Vinny,
Here.
Staff Liaison Gracie, here, Commissioner Maya. Let's make a motion to approve the minutes.
I approve the minutes.
Okay, Chloe? Aye. Ellie? Aye. Sammy?
Aye.
Justin?
Aye.
Joe?
Aye.
Harrison?
Aye.
Sophie? Samantha? Mason?
Aye.
Caleb?
Aye.
Vinny?
Aye.
Ion?
Aye.
And then we don't have any announcements today, so.
We do.
Okay.
We do have two quick ones. One is for if anybody is interested, I just wanted to put the plug out there. We're hiring for lifeguards for this summer. So if anyone is interested or needs a job or wants to start lifeguarding, that is an option, and that is open and posted online, as well as our day camp leaders for summer. So day camp leaders, you do have to be 16. Lifeguards is 15. So I know not everybody might not meet that mark, but if you're interested in looking, just wanted to share those opportunities. As well as I wanted to gauge everyone's interest and availability. I'm still waiting on more details on this, but on Saturday, at the end of this month on March 30th, I think at 12 p.m. I don't know if anyone's been before. There's a bunnies and bonnets parade that happens in downtown Campbell. Has anyone been? Okay, cool. Is anybody interested in being in the parade if possible or available? Just wanted to see, like, just if you are interested or available, raise your hand and then I'll get more details and can follow up. But just wanted to gauge generally if anyone was available or interested. So it happens through downtown Campbell. Does anyone who's been to it before want to share from their experience? Typically what parade is, they'll go around. So it'll have, yeah, it's definitely a smaller version of a parade. It's on the small end, but they'll have different organizations and businesses that'll sometimes be a part of it, have different floats or have cars and people, you know, walk through the parade. It's definitely on the smaller end. Person. That's where I'm still kind of waiting on details. I think in the past, Youth Commission, I want to say last year they rode in one of the trucks, and I think it was more for like just having that visibility and having the commission be represented. And so you know, you got your princess wave on and you are waving to the crowd, and I think it can vary from year to year, but I think last year, Natasha, our director, like was in the truck and had someone in a bunny suit. People were just part of the parade and waving and having that representation. So I'm still waiting on getting details on what their plan is and how, but I just wanted to, you don't have to decide right now, but I wanted to see if there was any general interest or availability, just to see. Is there anyone interested at all in doing it or not? You don't have to decide now, but just thought if there was initial. Let me see, Sammy, Maya. And Ion. And Joe and Justin?
Yeah.
Is that interested?
A little last minute.
That's okay. I just wanted to get like at least general to see. So I had Mason, Samita, Sophie, Maya, Harrison, Ion, Joe, Justin, Sammy. Yes. Okay. Cool. I'll get more info on that and then I'll circle back to you all and then I'll let the whole group know any other details on that. But thank you. Those are the announcements that I had.
So then we will move on to old business. Our first order of old business being the Shoe Drive recap. Our recommended action is that the Youth Commission Safety Subcommittee debriefs on the fun run and shoe drive and reflects on experience, what went well and what could be improved. I assume we mean environmental.
Yep, sorry.
Okay. Justin?
So, I was intrigued by the amount of people that came and donated shoes for the
Mhm.
fun run. I think it was like our advertising for the fun, or the shoe drive was good enough for that, good enough so that a lot of people came. We were able to get a lot of shoes. So it was what,
Like 23.
23 pairs. That was a lot more than expected.
What do you think could be?
I also thought that it went well, but I did feel like it would have been helpful perhaps to have a bigger poster of where we were. Because we only at that point had just the Campbell Recreation table, and unless people actively came up, I felt maybe it was hard for them to know what we were doing.
More outreach, like people at the event.
Yeah. Did you do the card thing where we could see that?
We didn't have that.
Okay, I think a good idea would be if we were to do something like this again for anyone who like couldn't find parking or isn't looking to actually be at the event, we could have like a curbside pickup section of it, and then I think more people wouldn't be inclined to just like come by and bring shoes.
Or your guys' thoughts on having it on Fun Run Day?
Justin?
I think it was beneficial because like there was a large amount of people already amassed at that one area. So I think it was like better because we didn't have to like go out on our own will to like look for people that had shoes.
I also think it would have been helpful. I don't believe we did this if at the Oktoberfest fun run, if we had had the poster ready at that point, we could have given it out then, just as we did for the job fair and the teen wellness day. Okay, if that's all we have for this one, let's move on the Teen Wellness Day overview and recap. The recommended action is that the Youth Commission reflects on their experience from the Teen Wellness Day and discusses this event for future years and how it can be built upon. Sunita?
I think it was overall really good. There were a lot of things, just surprising. And I guess we didn't expect that a lot of people would want to do bracelet making. So maybe a bigger table for bracelet making and hopefully more like people at the vendor.
Sophie?
I was also talking to a lot of my friends, and as I was sending them out, it was like a little bit last minute. Sorry. And they were like, oh, I've never seen like any of these advertisements before. Like, even though we put it on all over Instagram and all over our school, like they still hadn't seen it because a lot of people don't have social media still. And so I feel like if we did like a little bit more advertising, making an effort to like give out even more handouts to just individual people and like not expecting them to just like see it over campus.
Maya?
Kind of adding on to that, I feel like we have to consider that there's probably not that many teens checking the Campbell Recreation
Yeah.
Instagram. So if there's like other platforms or just like more to the general public instead of just the people who are interested in Campbell Recreation, be better.
Mason?
I was talking to the lady from the dogs and looking up on my leash because I know her personally, and also she was talking about how the time for the speakers cut into the time for the dogs, how they didn't really have a lot of time to like I guess be with people, and then when everyone was called to the gym, they didn't really have a lot of people there. They were just kind of like sitting.
Harrison?
Yeah, I agree. There should have been a more planned out timeline of how things would be set up.
Justin?
It wasn't there, but like, it was like a large amount of people that came.
There's over 70.
I was curious, does anyone know if we posted the event on Nextdoor? We did. Oh, yeah, I remember. Because I was gonna say that's probably a good alternative to social media, not necessarily that teenagers have it, but that their parents do. I know that a lot of people did, at one event, someone posted on Nextdoor as well, and they said that they came from that. And then also with the organization, I definitely agree, and I also think that the distance between the gym and then also the weight room, and then that was really kind of awkward. And then it would have helped to maybe have, if the day had been nicer, the wellness event outside or like just closer to the other locations for the event.
I think that might be something of looking into for future years of thoughts on, I mean, never know with the weather. You could have like a rainy day in June, but like thinking about having this event maybe be in like start of May. So like having hopefully a better chance for better weather, because I do think it would be nice to have some components at least be outside. I do think that would be nice for your wellness day. And I think this is good to debrief and talk through these for future years. I know some of you, I don't know what everyone's plans are next year. I know some of you will be graduating, which is really exciting, but I think for looking for, the future of youth commission, of having all of your input, especially if this is the first time that this event was put on. So I first also want to say big kudos to everybody, because I do think like, obviously there's definitely things to be improved, and I'm really liking everybody's feedback. But I think for first time around, it was a success, and there were over 70 teens, and they registered like very right last minute, which was exciting to see. I was watching the registrations go from like 35 the night before to 70 in a wait list in the morning. So that was really awesome. So you should be proud, because I think it was a big success, and I think it will just continue to grow and get better as the years go on. So I think noting some of these things and any other specific like things that you think went well and would love to see again, to share a little bit more on that, and then things again for improvement, and then any other ways of, I like hearing about finding different like diverse ways to advertise. And a lot of that comes back on you all in the youth commission of what you're doing to advertising, because we will use obviously the things we have accessible to us, which is the Campbell Recreation Instagram, Facebook, which I know like varies on how teens, if they use that or not. But we also are targeting parents too, since a lot of the teens, all of you parents are checking that, and that's how a lot of the traction gets up too. So I think sharing a little bit more on things that you all thought went well or love to see again, and then if any other constructive feedback too.
Rita?
I think two pluses, were the, like, kind of directions leading to Q84. Like, it was really easy to follow, but maybe directions for like the weight room and the open gym, because people like never really been to the Campbell Community Center before, didn't know where the weight room was, and then they like missed it. And it was only for 1 hour. Also, the raffle things were really good, the sheets. And then maybe for advertising, like maybe making a video and then making the school show it, or like announcing it over the system, if like, you're just like at your school, so then that would be like directly.
Sophie?
Yeah, to add to that, I emailed our principal, and he put it on like the daily like video that we showed during like our study hall. And also, I love how we had our nutritional speaker, but I also feel like that made it really awkward for like all of the timelines. It was like kind of in the middle of everything. And then after that, everyone kind of left. If we ended up doing this next year, I feel like maybe like we don't have to like push like a talk for people. It could just be like fun activities.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I was gonna say something similar, that I think some people, they felt like out of place, almost like, oh, what are we listening to? Why are we listening to this? But I was glad that people still stayed the entire time. I felt that was really positive, that a lot of the people even that I had saw at the beginning of the event stayed the entire time. And then what were you gonna say, Justin?
Or if anything, for the nutrition support, you could like terminate the event with it, rather than putting the speaker in like the middle of like the visitors. You could, put at the end, and then it would terminate the event, rather than have it at an awkward time and then people leave while there's still festivities going on.
Caleb?
So do you think the speaker was like actively compelling people to like get away from the event though, or like was it?
No, that's not. No. I think a lot of, I'm gonna say that it was from what I observed, it was younger teens who were there. And Me personally, when I was in middle school or the beginning of high school, if I had to listen to that, I would have been like, oh, I don't know. But I felt she really did have like some educational things to say and people did ask questions. I just feel like Sophie and also Justin were saying, maybe having it not in the middle of everything, so it felt more optional. Because a lot of people too, they weren't interacting with anything else while she was speaking because they wanted to be respectful. Sophie.
It was kind of in like that awkward downtime, like the bracelet making was going on, and then like, oh, all of a sudden we had to talk. So then they were like being respectful, but they were like asking us like, oh, is like the open gym open? And we were like, oh, it opened like right after the talk. So I feel like the talk was just kind of like a lag period for them to be like, oh, well, I got to sit through this. But like, no,
Yeah.
I love the speaker, like, she was great. I'm just saying, like, it was a lot more of like a younger group than we expected, because it wasn't more like 13 through 18, it was like 7 through 14 maybe.
Mhm. Harrison,
I think you could make it smaller, maybe like a group or something.
that's what I was thinking.
Question I had was there a limit to how many people want to come? Because when some of my friends tried to register, it said there was like full.
Yeah, so we had, which I think this is a good problem to have, and I also think for future ones, because I originally set it at 50, just because we wanted to see, like, I think our goal originally was like to get 50 teens. And so, and I can always adjust it to make it higher. And sometimes with registration, I'll keep it at that number, so that way it looks like it's getting fuller and people want to register if they know it's getting close to the number, and then I'll bump it. And what happened with the registration, which was awesome, but it was like very surprising. It jumped, like it was at 35 the night before at like 6 p.m. And then I woke up in the morning and I was like, ah, it's at like, it's got to 50 and there's like a 20-person wait list. And I had to call people in the morning. I was like, nope, it's fine. Like the pre-registration doesn't mean you can't come if you didn't pre-register. We asked for the pre-registration for two purposes, so you all know and we can plan accordingly of like, okay, how much pizza are we getting, things like that logistically, as well as that liability form was built into registration. So anyone who wanted to use the weight room and open gym had to do the liability form. So that way, when they went into the weight room, they got checked in, so they went off the roster on that. So that's why that part was for. So I think in the future, for this event, we'll start it at a larger cap. So that way also, we can maybe start it at 100 and then, keep raising the goal. And I think, again, for future years, with this year, I think it was great pairing it with open house. I think it got more traction with that too. But maybe we look into a different room, or maybe that room size was fine, and then see how people want to structure future events. But I think it's a really good start. And I think part of the reasoning for certain things is we had two different committees coming up with ideas of like having the speaker at that time, pros and cons, right? It's hard being in the middle, but I think part of the reason for the placement of that was to have it be like people are eating their pizza, so they're eating listening to the speaker. And also so that way you have more attendance for the speaker too, because you never want to invite someone to speak knowing no one's gonna be like, they're off doing something else that's offered. So I think that was kind of the original intention behind all of that, but I think this is really good feedback. Is this something that you think should be like hopefully redone in future years for the Wellness Day?
Mhm. And I definitely think like as we have more and more committees of commissioners, that like some of the events that we host this year, they'll become maybe annual or even in the future years, which is really cool to think about.
Yeah, I want to just give you all that kudos again, because I had multiple parents come up to me and we're asking, and all the vendors there too, we're like, wow, does this happen all the time? I was like, the first time Youth Commission came up with the idea, and parents were excited. And one of the other vendors of the organizations that was there had shared that this was the most teens that he's ever had come to an event on a Saturday, because I know sometimes it is hard to get people to come out on their weekend. to come and do an activity. And so he said he's been to multiple like tabling events like this. And he's like, this is the most teens I've seen come out for a Saturday. So you guys should be proud because that is very awesome, especially the first time putting it on.
Mhm. Okay. If we didn't have any more comments, let's move on to the job fair overview and recap. The recommended action is that the Youth Commission Career and Education Committee shares the outreach they did to coordinate with businesses, debrief on day of event experience, and also future aspirations. Sophie.
I thought the job fair was really successful. Just like one thing, a lot of the businesses that were there only hired 16 and above. And a lot of kids there were like 13 through 14 and 15 who had like their work permits and all their resumes, but they couldn't really apply for any of the jobs because they were like, oh, we only hire 16 and up. So if we could find like any businesses that would hire like younger kids maybe during the summer with like flexible hours, then that would be like great.
Sumita.
And another thing, wait, so first of all, the Reach for the Stars, like writing their job on the stars was, I think, really good. It was really cool seeing what people want to do. But then, we're also talking about the youth commission stuff, and a lot of people were asking for like a paper or something, just like all of the other vendors had. So I think maybe having like a paper of like what the commission did would be kind of nice too. And yeah, like Sophie said about the jobs, and wait, there's one more thing that I forgot.
I think the event was really great and that we had a great turnout of people. And it also, I know that some of the businesses didn't show up, of course, but I was wondering, it felt to me like a few of the businesses, like the honey company and that sort of stuff, they would only hire like 1 or 2 applicants,
Yeah.
correct? And so I think perhaps in the future, reaching out to companies, and I'm sure you guys did, and it may have just not had a response for it, but reaching out to places that are looking to hire like a widespread, like a lot of applicants, like the summer camp, having more of those kind of places might be good. Because I did notice that some people seem like discouraged, just by that kind of stuff that spoke to us as they left.
Did they say anything in particular about like certain stands and like what happened?
But yeah, just that they were like, they felt like it was over competitive or something, you know what I mean? There's so many
That's
people
true.
there, they were worried. And then I also had what you expressed where they were wondering, I had a lot of questions about, oh, is anyone hiring people 15?
Yeah.
I know that the lifeguards are, but I don't think anywhere else
Yeah,
there
'cause I
did.
saw some like,
Mm-mm.
I saw like some 13, 14-year-olds and they were like, oh, I have like all this ready, and they were like, oh, we can't, like none of the tables could take them because they're too young.
Yeah, in general, it's really difficult to find a place that
Yeah.
will hire anyone 14, so. Justin.
So I was looking at the list of businesses that were supposed to be like present at the event.
Mhm.
And I saw 3 that were canceled or they had like backed out. It was like, what were these businesses? Do you know?
There was the row house, and
The dog.
Therapy stores. And
they just didn't
Was it?
show up.
Oh.
Yeah, but there were
Oh.
3 that specifically canceled it. It was row house,
Said profit. It's that one.
That one was a no-show. The 3 that canceled was, yeah, row house. There was one for Da Vinci School, which would have been like tutors and other positions like that. And then was the Pruneyard Cinemas, I think were the 3 that canceled that week. And I think each of those was one person was sick and so they couldn't come anymore and didn't have an additional staff to send. Similarly, I think one of the staff that was originally working there couldn't come anymore, wasn't working for them anymore, and they didn't have additional staff to send. I think it's a little bit of a catch-22 in some of these scenarios because the places that might be really in need of hiring don't have the staff accessible to send to something like this because they are so in need of staff. So it's like this, sometimes it's this tough juggling act of like, we need staff, but we can't afford to give our staff to go to this event because we need them here. So I think that's where it gets a little bit tricky. And it's nobody's fault on the ones that, canceled or were just no-shows. I'll be reaching out to them, just kind of let them know like, sorry, we missed you. This was the turnout of the event. and whatnot. So I know that that's tough and no one was, ready to have, a good chunk of them not come. I think at least the ones that were there, I was pleasantly surprised with the attendance. Like the room was full the whole time, or when it wasn't like as buzzing, there was still always like, I'd say maybe 20 people in there. Like there was never really less than that for the last like, 15, 20, 30 minutes.
Maya?
I think we also had like a good variety of businesses. There was a tutoring, honey, lifeguarding, swim instructor, summer camp. Like it was just a good variety overall. But I think in the future we can just focus on like the quantity of businesses that come, because I think if we had a lot more, even if they weren't hiring like an abundance of people, it would just make a difference if like the number of businesses were greater.
Samina?
And I think this was pretty self-explanatory, but I feel like maybe some people thought that they might get a job like right there, because a lot of them
Oh,
have
yeah.
resumes and their cover letters and stuff, and they're like confused why we weren't taking it. So maybe, I don't know what the solution is, this is, but maybe like a description of the event on the flyer itself.
Like a teen exploratory job.
Just like
fair.
clarify that it's not like hiring on the spot,
Yeah.
but it's more of like a come to see what's available.
Exploration.
Sophie?
And also, I do think that like offering food at like all of our events has been like really helpful, because like a lot of teenagers will do anything for free food. But I also think that like we should have offered like maybe water at most of the events, because I had a lot of people come and ask like, hey, like, do you have water? Like not like hot water, like just like normal water.
100%. I was.
Agree.
Like, then we were like, oh, like there's like a water fountain outside, but it was broken. So we were like, oh.
I also would note, and this is like totally not on us, but I kept getting feedback that the room was really, really hot. Like to the point that people were like, oh, I didn't want to stay in there. So maybe maybe next time we should either, I don't know exactly what we could do to fix that. Perhaps, because that was one big room, but it was split into two, opening it up more, so there was more space between everything and more breathing, or just opening more
But I
doors.
think we did that because it was like the number of businesses, it just made it look small.
Yeah, but there was also so much condensed body heat, which I think was why.
I think for future with that, one, we can always open a door to prop
Yeah.
it in for more airflow. Like I know we had those doors open, but there's
The
one
ones on the
small on the
back,
other
yeah.
side. Or just flag me down and I can try to get facilities to adjust, like same with how here we can
Yeah.
adjust the thermostat. 'Cause I thought it was warm, but I thought it was just me. So like, just, if you feel that, or if you get feedback, flag me down. Just tell me if you're like, hey, Gracie, this is what people are saying, like, oh, let me, so I can try to see if there's anything that can be done in the moment. Because honestly, I thought it was just me, because I wasn't feeling 100% on Saturday, so I was like, oh, am I getting a fever? Like that's what was going through my head. So, flag me down, because we did have the room divider up to help with making the room feel more full too, because it was a little bit smaller of a, turnout in terms of businesses. But I think that's good feedback. And I think future wise, if there's ever anything where you guys get feedback or something like that, just flag me down so I can see if there's anything that can be done in the moment of.
Mhm.
Any other feedback that you've heard, or like from Chloe and Sammy from sitting on the entry table?
I think just from what we observed, as Maya said, we definitely needed more businesses there. Like, I think there were a lot of people that were they were very encouraged today. They liked that they could talk to all these people, especially the younger ones, because it's really hard to speak to businesses when you're a younger teen. And I think that it was less intimidating, definitely this environment, communicating with employer. But I did notice that some people seemed like, obviously because there were supposed to be more businesses, they kind of seemed like disappointed about, oh, there was only like 6 tables in there, especially the ones who, Samina, as you were mentioning, like they brought their resume and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know if Sammy has anything to add.
Yeah, I agree. Also, at the end, if we gave them a placard, a lot of people, they just like didn't return it because they didn't go to all the businesses.
Yeah, we would ask too, and they were like, no.
Yeah. They only like one stamp. Or like, I think maybe if we told them like what the prize was, like if we knew, and they'd be more incentivized.
Yeah, it was gonna be a raffle. But do we know what happened with that?
I haven't done the raffle yet because it was just Saturday, so I'll have to look at it this week or tomorrow because I was catching up on emails today.
We don't have the, run.
What?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
that.
I emailed or called them to go to the office to pick them up.
Okay.
I do have a question. Like, just for job fair, I wanted to get everyone's feedback on kind of talking about like future aspirations for job fair of thoughts about, I know you kind of shared it through some of the feedback already. Thoughts on, do you think youth commission should continue with job fair? Like this will be, next commission will be something that they'll talk about in their work plan as well too. But I wanted to get your feedback from experiencing it, of if it's something that you think should continue, that's put on by youth commission. Just kind of wanted to have a little bit more of your thoughts on that.
Samita?
I think it should like definitely continue because it's a really good thing, especially for like 15-year-olds. And I think this is a really good time to do because it's kind of before the summer and it still gives them enough time to apply and to get started for the summer. So I think this is really good.
I definitely agree. I think that we should do it again. And I like the time frame as well. It was good, as you were mentioning. I don't think we should have done it earlier or later, especially because a lot of places are hiring seasonally for the summer, and this is around the time that you would do that. One thing that I would say we should do in the future is put the age range on the poster. I don't know why, but people did not know that in California legally, you cannot work if you are under 14. And I had a lot of questions about that. So I think just clarifying that might be a good idea.
And one more thing about like the date is I know a lot of teens were in the SAT because it was like one of the official dates. So I think that brought less attraction. So maybe checking the SAT date.
Maya?
I was gonna say that's a good point. We didn't even think about that, but I think this would be like the type of event in the future that would really benefit from partnering with other youth commissions, like how the Saratoga came to us about their basketball. Like I think we could go to them or other youth commissions about the job fair specifically. Like if any of our events were going to be like in partnership with other youth commissions this year, I feel like job fair would benefit the most just because of like the wide range and locations of businesses we could get to, as well as like the teens in other areas. I had some friends who did not live in Campbell and they actually like weren't sure if they were allowed to come. And I was allowed, like I told them they could, but I'm sure there were a lot more people who were thinking that also. So yeah.
Does anyone else have anything to add? Okay. So we'll move on to our new business, our first order being the city council presentation. Recommended action is that the youth commission saves the date for the presentation at the city council meeting on March 9th and May 21st.
March 13th.
Oh, yeah, March 19th and May 21st. Commission to discuss work plan updates for presentation and set deadline for completing presentation materials. Mason,
What time will that be, the 19th?
That's 7 p.m. So
Both
Is
days?
that a Tuesday?
yes, it's a Tuesday. It is
Both are
a Tuesday.
Tuesdays,
Both are Tuesdays. March 19th is next week. And if you all remember, I know it was some time ago, Chloe and Ion and Vinny presented at the very start of your term. I think it was like October 3rd. I think it was like, or really early October. They presented to the city council at their meeting and did like an overview of your work plan and talked about the subcommittees that you formed and kind of the general goals that you're focusing on for the year in each of those subcommittees. So the meeting next week will be kind of giving an overview. And then the final one at the end of the term on May 21st will be kind of like a recap of like, this is what we did this term. And so the talking point for tonight would just be kind of going over a plan, and I want to just share like an initial thought of 2 directions to kind of talk about for the presentation, because it's only about like a 3 to 5 minute presentation. The hope would be if commissioners are available to come in support for the presentation, because it will be, it's usually always chair, vice chair who do the presenting, and then I'll do an intro of you. But it would be great if we had a presence of commissioners that are able to go and support. It's not much time. Like I said, it starts at 7. They usually slate youth commission, like, if you remember from last time, like pretty.
Because I remember it was like the librarian was being honored.
It depends on their agenda, so I can check, but they usually try to put us not at the end. So they'll have obviously similar formats, so they'll go through the logistics of like all that good stuff first, but they usually try to put youth commission at the beginning, and I can see if I can get a hold of what their agenda is and then share it in Slack to give you maybe an idea timeline wise, but I would imagine it wouldn't take more than 30 minutes, because after the presentation, you can all leave as well too. But the idea would be, because, and we'll talk about this later of your remaining work plans, but there's not much left in your term in terms of your work plan too. So to avoid your presentation being repetitive of sharing next week, like this is all we've done, and then not as much added to it, and then present in May and say, this is all we've done, and it's pretty much the same. I was thinking about splitting up your presentation into it being on focusing on what you did in the fall. And then going up through safety week. And then the one in May being a recap of your whole year and going more in depth of teen wellness fair, or teen wellness day and job fair. That way, because it's only about 3 to 5 minutes for your presentation, that you can kind of break up the year in that way. So I wanted to get thoughts on that. And as a recap of things that you've done the Ainsley House, both fun runs, story time with Santa, safety week. So those would kind of be, if there's anything else that I'm missing.
No, but I was gonna add too that are we going to say what we're doing in the future as well?
I think for the second one in May, the final one, I think giving some insight into that. I think it'll also be on a general sense too of like the direction of what you think youth commission, because obviously next year we'll get.
Oh, no, I mean for like events this year, like I know environmental sustainability, we're talking about the planting trees next time. And then or this commission, and then we were also like the bonus parade, like we were talking about, because if we talk about it in May, then yeah, those will already have passed.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the May one will be a recap of your whole, like this
Yeah,
is all the things we've done. You can do a quick recap of the things that you share from next week, but it'll be going more into depth of some of those other ones as well too. And I think it will also be, which we'll talk about on your remaining work plans too, of like plans for if that pans out for the park cleanup day.
Yeah,
and
okay.
components, but yeah. So biggest thing would be save the date. They're at 7 p.m. for both of those. And then I would say for Chloe and Ion, I will help to draft up initial kind of presentation. And we'll use like the same slides that we did for the last one and just insert photos. The biggest thing is they like to see photos from all the events that you guys have done. So I will send that to you both. And in terms of deadline for presentation, it would be great to do a quick run through with both of you, either Friday or Monday, the day before. So I would say think about it, check your schedules, and see if there's a time either Friday or Monday night. I think we'll only need like a 15 to 20 minutes to just kind of walk through it once or twice.
Okay.
So I would say that's kind of that's more specific to you too, but
Yeah.
action items for both of you. And then I'll share reminders, but it'd be great to have commission come to that. Kristen, do you have questions in the back? No? Cool.
Did we make the original slide?
I have the original presentation, which I can share with you all too. That was the original recap that they went over at the beginning of the year. So it'll basically be that same template. It's on Canva. So it'll basically be slotting in all the photos of you all too. And if you have any photos, I don't know if you did, but I want to do a kudos to Yasmin because she sent me some from Wellness Day. So if you ever take photos at the events, please share them with me because it's super awesome to see photos and keep them. And also they're great for when we do social media plugs too.
If we're done with that one, we'll move on to the Youth Commission 2024 to 2025 recruitment. Recommended action is that the Youth Commission saves the date for Youth Commission application opening for the 2024-2025 year and how to help promote opportunity with other Campbell teams. I'm already going to say that I think the bonus parade is a really good opportunity for that and that we can pass out the flyer. Samita?
And I think what that would like just did for the job fair of promoting the application, I think that was really good because a lot of people took a picture of that and like probably like 30 people.
Oh, that's good. Sophie?
Yeah, to add to what Samantha said, a lot of people were like asking us more about it, and like she said before, I think it would have been really helpful if we have like just like a designated flyer, like specifically about youth commission that we could give to people. Because also at the fun run, people were like, "Oh, like what is this table? Like what do you guys do?" And instead of like having to explain it like over and over, like you could just like give them a flyer too,
I think we had one at the fun
Yeah,
run.
I think we did also.
specifically for youth.
Yes.
Vinny?
I think it'll be nice to email school principals to maybe make announcements to the entire school because I think last year, that's how I figured out about the youth commission.
Mhm.
Because it sent it to all the school emails. So that was definitely pretty useful.
Yeah, I would say sooner than later is best with that too, because at least at my school, they sent it to us. I wanted to do this last year and they sent it to me like a day before the application was due. So I didn't get to do it. So if we could get those emails out, if that's what we're planning to do, sooner than later is better. And did you want to add something?
I feel like we can make a fun video to post on Instagram also, saying like, cause then we can introduce ourselves as well, so it's not just like them
Oh
and the
my gosh.
application and Gracie, it's like, we're youth commission, like, welcome to the team, like, we'd love to have you, please apply, kind of thing.
Sammy?
We should be choosing it to the schools. I don't know about other schools or project. We have like a college and career ambassador, and she like sends out weekly newsletters, which has a bunch of opportunities for students. So I think we should send it directly to the principal because like they have a lot of other stuff going on. So we should contact directly that. Person.
Justin?
Like I had learned about it from like this thing on the website we use for like our work for our teachers, and that's how I learned about it. Because it was like more like an outreach from a principal. So I think it would be useful if we were able to like spread that to others so that they can see it more directly. So it's not as like a direct message.
Caleb?
Okay, so then if we like do the email, right, are we just gonna draft one mass email so that we can just send it? And then also just like in all forms of the advertisement, what do you think? Like, what would you guys to do this? So then, based on that, what do you guys think should be the main emphasis?
Like questions. Like ask them questions and then they see, are they fit for the job?
Sophie?
In this email, do we have like a link we can send out for the application?
So a couple things. I'm really loving like the questions and thoughts that are coming up. In terms of emails for schools, I typically send it one out. So I have the contacts and an email template that I am happy to update and also kind of share out to see if you all think anything else to be added. So I will help to also send it out to school contacts. So that's what I did last year. I'd love to kind of go around the room to just see like how everyone found out about it, because when I first started, because I haven't even been with Campbell a full year yet. I was within my like first month of being here where it was like send out to youth commission. So I was still learning what youth commission was at that time too. So it would be great to just kind of go around to hear like, how did you all hear and learn and want to apply for youth commission? And I know you kind of said this way back when in interviews, but like, why? Why did you want to be here? And kind of sharing out your reasoning. We'll just do a quick round the room, because I think it's helpful for me, and it's also helpful because I get lots of questions throughout the week too from parents and teens that will email me. And so it's great to hear all of your feedback on how did you hear about it? And why did you originally, or why did you be part of youth commission?
We'll start with you, Maya.
We want to go that way?
No,
And then-
we'll start with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, I think, I found out about youth commission because I went to the job fair last year. And then that like, I think they also had not a separate booth, but just at where they were like welcoming us all. They were saying, by the way, like if you want to apply, here's who we are. So that was really interesting. And then like, I was thinking more about it. And I just remember like as a kid, I used to always go to events in Campbell, and I was like, oh, I would love to be on the flip side of that and like see the inner workings of like how they get put on, and like I would love to share my own creative ideas and like how that could, put on more fun events for people in Campbell, because I personally like always enjoyed going to the events. Yeah.
I want to add to what we were talking about earlier, that in the Campbell newsletter, we could most likely put an ad. The one that's downtown. I don't know if we do that already. I've talked to her before, the woman who runs it. And it's pretty easy. You just need to tell her a month in advance and she'll do something with it. And then I found out about youth commission the year before, like I said, through my school, and then I waited the year and then applied. And I joined because I used to do this sort of thing just on my own, like the event organizing with my club at school that I founded. And to be honest, I didn't feel very supported doing it all on my own. It was like it was incredibly busy. It was like so much to do by yourself. And I also have always been super interested in making genuine change that I can see firsthand and that I know like in a way came from me. And so those were my big reasons for joining the Campbell Youth Commission.
For me, I don't know, I think last year, I don't exactly remember how I found out, but I had just moved to Campbell in like around March. So I was probably like scrolling on the Campbell website or something, and I came across like the youth commission website. And then I guess what inspired me to join was probably because I've never had like a leadership opportunity like this, like work with other people and like put on events. So that was really inspiring to see. And also I was looking on the list, and like 2 people from my school before were also like on this commission. So I wanted to do that too.
For me, I found out at my school that they sent out this weekly newsletter, which has like a bunch of opportunities for students, and this is just one of them. And I had also gone to the job fair a couple times previous years, which I was just how my friend became a cadet because I told him about it. But anyways, also one of the other years my friend was on it, and she held this event, and me and our friends went. It was just a really cool opportunity, and like I wanted to be able to create those opportunities for others.
So I learned about it because my dad's student was part of the youth commission. And so he was talking to my dad about it, and my dad brought it up. I was like, that would be a perfect opportunity for me because I like leading events, as Sammy said. It's like I like just being part of like a group where I can like help orchestrate larger events for the community. So it's pretty cool, interesting.
Is your dad a teacher?
Yes.
Yeah, I found out about youth commission the same way, Sammy was talking about, through like the school referral, Yeah. So I thought that I wanted to do this because it was really different than anything that I'd really like ever done. Like I've done like different activities, but nothing like where I would actually be able to like work with like the local government, which I thought was really cool. So that kind of like drew me to this opportunity, and I thought I could learn a lot by doing it, but also like use my skills to like, contribute to the team.
Yeah, I originally was planning to go to the Santa Clara Youth Commission or apply to it because my mom worked in a government position there.
Mhm.
And then it was only for Santa Clara residents, so we looked into it and we found the Campbell Youth Commission.
Nice.
And I applied for it, and I really thought that I could help organize and plan events to my best ability.
My mom told me about it, and then honestly, I got a little sidetracked. So then I saw it on my school's website, and I was like, oh, I should fill out the application. And then on the application, it was like asking like, what do you want to learn from this? And I've done like leadership and like mentorship positions before, from like coaching different sports or being on student council for my school and hosting those types of events. But I really thought that joining the youth commission would help me like learn about, number one, like local government and how it like actually works, as well as like being able to make a bigger impact for people, and just planning things that like might help them relax a little bit, because like life can be really stressful.
I heard of the youth commission on like our school page. And I applied because it was like the opposite of what Maya said, because I never really went to any Campbell events and I didn't really know anything that was happening. So it would be like a really good opportunity to kind of like get involved in Campbell. And also I've like been in like the leadership club and stuff and organizing events. So that was something I'd like to do. So this was also something I would like to do.
I found about it from my mom, and I saw it was interesting because I thought it was a good way to help other people, and I like helping other people. And I just thought it was a good opportunity, good way to do that.
I think my other people at my school told me about it, and like they don't live in Campbell, but they do the same thing with the city, so they told me about it. I think the unique thing about like this position versus anything else is that it's like working with the government, so that especially kind of drew me in.
Yeah, I found out about the Campbell Youth Commission through my school email, and also because people from my school have done it in the past. But I think I missed a deadline the past few years because I did not hear about it soon enough. So I made sure to do it last year. And the reason I wanted to join was because a lot of volunteer opportunities were not as widespread, and also because I thought it would help me grow closer to my own community. So I thought that would be pretty nice.
Yeah, I heard about it from my school's newsletter as well, because they're just advertising things to do over the summer and like continue through the school year. And the reason I decided to join is because I was in the leadership club in 8th grade, and it was kind of like tame. There wasn't many events, so I kind of want to do like a real leadership position, which should have more action. So I decided to do Campbell Youth Commission because on top of that, it also gave me something to do during my freshman year. I was kind of bored, so yeah.
Well, thank you all so much for sharing. That's super helpful just to hear, like, things like a lot of you from school heard about it. So I think it'll be great to kind of talk about as we move forward over these next couple meetings. If you can believe there's only 4 left. So we'll kind of talk about helping to recruit for that and getting the word out. And I also love the idea of making it a fun thing.
Do we have a different application, or do we just fill out the same one?
So it will be, and obviously I'll share it all with you for whoever is interested for next year. It will be very similar to the application from last year. I'm going to change it just a little bit, mostly to make it a little bit easier, because if you remember from last year, it was like a paper form that I think had to download, and I received some applications that were handwritten, some that were typed. And so what I'd like to do for this year is streamline it a little bit more and maybe make it like a Google form. Because
That's high tech.
it's, oh yeah. It's the 21st century, 2024. Yeah, I'm just doing a form because one, it's much easier for me to be able to receive them all typed. I think it was tricky having some that were uploaded differently and then I get so many emails. So I think streamlining it that way and hopefully it'll also make it easier for all of you to just kind of like click and type and have it be a little bit simpler, as well as for, if you remember too, there was a letter of recommendation piece as a part of the application process. So I'd love for them to just also kind of upload it into a Google form as well too. So that way it's easy for them and going to in one place.
Is there still the in-person interview?
Yes, so the interview is a big piece of it. So last year, I want to say we had about 40 applicants. And so we interviewed all of them. So all of you were carefully chosen because of your application and from your interviews, from a lot of what you shared around the table just now was a lot of what, we were drawn to your answers. Everyone brought something different to the table and had different experiences. So that part will remain the same for the next year of application process, letter of rec, and interview process. There'll probably be, I'll send out information about it, but it'll probably be the deadline and then about a week to let people sign up for interviews and then another week until we do interviews. Interviews will probably be end of May.
I was going to add that I think next year, a good idea, we could work on it this year too, but it is nearing the end, as Gracie was mentioning, is we should probably have an established Instagram or website for the commission. And like, I know it's like a little bit like cringy, maybe is how I would say it, but have you guys seen, do your school clubs do the thing? You're like, oh, what song are they listening to? And
Yeah.
they answer. The clubs in my college do that. So that's definitely a big thing with recruiting members, and I think that can be very helpful next year.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, doing like the trends would make more people watch. Like, I know like the police people, they were doing like, on Earth Day, they were doing like a trash thing.
Yeah.
And like, that got a lot of views.
I think Maya asked this question like just now, but your answer wasn't really clear to me. For the application for youth commission, is it a different application for returning members or they're all?
The application will be the same, sorry, for returning and new ones application will be the same. What'll probably be different is some of the interview questions. Will probably be the main difference because a lot will be kind of reflecting on your experience and what you individually brought to the table from being in youth commission. So obviously if there's a new applicant, that question doesn't pertain to them. We'll ask questions that are like similar of what they've done, experience that they have and why. But I think for returning commissioners who apply to be a part of it, we'll ask, have some of the same interview questions, but there'll be probably some specific ones about like what you did specifically to contribute throughout the year and things like that. Justin.
Who will like be interviewing the applicants?
That is TBD at the moment. It will be me, and then we usually like to try to have 2 other staff to be a part of the interview process. So I think last year we had, which some of you have met her, Tiffany, who's our rec specialist, and she was at the job fair this last Saturday, recruiting for our day camp leaders. And then we also, I think last year we had Gayatri, who's also our staff here. She works with our nutrition program for our older adults. And she served as the staff liaison the year before me. So I think that was kind of the group that made up the interview team last year. So not sure 100% of if it'll be that same group for this year. So still TBD on who will be exactly interviewing with me, but it will be me. And most likely 2 other staff for that.
So going back to last year when people were applying to youth commission, I remember the recommendation letters were a bit general, like there's no exact prompt or exact questions to like for the student they're recommending. And also, I don't think they really had any specifications as to who exactly we should ask for recommendation, whether it's like a teacher or a coach or a counselor. I might be wrong on that, but I still think that maybe we can brush upon that and make the requirements for that a bit less general, because the guy who I was asking, he'd not really have a good enough idea as to what to talk about. Although it's not too big of a problem, I still think specific pinpoint questions could be pretty useful for next year.
Okay. No, that's good feedback. I think, I want to say there is notes about who's an acceptable reference that you can use. Rule of thumb, really for this experience, really for any experience that you need a letter of rec, not a family member. It's not about, I'm sure your mom or dad give you rave reviews. But unfortunately can't use like a family member to give you a letter of rec. It's typically a teacher, a mentor, a coach. In this capacity, I would say it's someone who can speak to any leadership abilities that you have, your character, who can talk about and be able to say, hey, I know Maya shows up. She always comes to every game. She helps lead the charge. Like she always has a positive attitude. Someone who can speak to, your team building and things like that and teamwork abilities, is able to kind of attest to that. I'd say with any letter of rec, you want someone who knows your character and who can, positively, hopefully, to that. So I would say, and I can give more direction, but it's basically, I would say if you have a teacher, a coach, a mentor, a counselor, if you have a job and you have another coworker or supervisor on that end who can be a reference for you, they would be a good person to ask. Any other questions on that? Awesome. Give it back to Flynn.
All right, and then we'll move to our last order of new business, which is the 2023 to 2024 remaining work plan. The recommended action is that the Youth Commission reflects on work plan remaining goals and plan for the remainder of the term. Justin.
So I believe that, the environmental sustainability group, we were discussing like something, an event on Earth Day, where we worked on picking up trash near the creek and then possibly planting trees in the greater Campbell area. So I think that was one of our goals.
And last time, I don't remember who exactly it was with, but we were looking at websites for that online. And maybe tonight, the Environmental Sustainability Committee can send some websites, would be a great idea. Does anyone else have anything to add about that specifically, or some work plans that they have going on in their subcommittee? Sophie.
I know like both the physical subcommittee and the safety committee, like all of our big events are done. So if like any of the other committees need like a lot of help, like maybe we could pitch in, because our wellness day and our safety week is already done, and as well as our fun run for school.
I'm just putting this out there, but let's say if over like the environmental sustainability, we're planting trees, you guys could try to organize like a teen run during the time that we're doing that. That might work. Just some ideas like that where we can all collaborate. Justin?
I know we were discussing the basketball tournament. I think person from Sarasota would, and I think, did we like decided on a date yet? No.
That I have to check in on, if they've come up with an update with the date. So that way we can help to promote and find out in terms of, when it is, and if there's ability of providing that, day of help from the commission. I did let them know, because the tricky part with Youth Commission is, as you know, the term starts in September and goes through May. So when they initially threw out like, oh, it might be in June or July, I did have to share with them, when I also got a little bit more direction on this too, is anyone's available to go in terms of like going as an individual if you're interested, but can't go as representing Campbell Youth Commission, if that makes sense, if it's outside of term.
Oh,
So I need to figure out if they've come up with a date, because they were still TBD on when they wanted to offer it, and they were like, maybe May, maybe June, and I was like, if it's outside of their term, more than happy to still help promote and spread the word to all of our commissioners, and they can go if they're interested, available. They just can't go as a Campbell Youth Commission representation, if that makes sense. And I also shared of like, there was the interest of wanting to help with the event in terms of, I know the main goal was outreach and then more of that day of support. And in terms of your work plan, there wasn't massive bandwidth to help with the front loading of all the planning. So I think their committee or their commission is doing majority of the planning. That was kind of the understanding. So I'm waiting to see if we can help to promote, and if they need any day of help, once they share dates.
I believe too that a few of the commissioners here were going to meet with them. And if that's still happening, I'm sure we'll have more information after that meeting. Okay, do any of the other subcommittees have stuff that they are working on?
You'll have, there's 2 subcommittees left. One will be towards the end of this month on March 25th. So I would say goal for you all, because we are wrapping up towards the end, and I would imagine I think this will probably be our last long meeting. Has naturally, as we get towards the end here, there's not as much on your work plan. You've already done a lot of the bulk. And we'll kind of have some other, reflection points in some of these future meetings too. But I would say for going into this meeting on the 25th for your subcommittee meeting, of having a little bit more of a defined plan of things that were already on your work plan. Like I know the environmental subcommittee talked about the park cleanup, so I think kind of honing in on if that's happening, what that looks like. And I think for some of our other subcommittees, I do love the offer of help that was given, of seeing like if it's something that environmental is partnering with, or if it's something like, I think there is time, if whether you're partnering or if you're like, I want to create park cleanup day in end of April or early May, I think there's still time to put that on and kind of figure out some partnership within the commission as a whole. I think that's just something you'd have to decide. And kind of going into that March meeting with a pretty good idea. And then that way that's more like a working meeting and getting things done instead of going and just talking about it and losing time, because you only have got 2 of them left. So I think using this next week to really connect, whether that's on Slack, figuring out a time to connect in your committees and figuring out what that looks like. I think that was one of the big ones left, at least on your work plan. I think everything else, you guys have really done a great job of getting those big events done. So.
Maya?
This is kind of going in a different direction, but I think like a nice thing we could do, not as an event like with the people of Campbell, but just like as a youth commission, maybe we could do like an activity where we write cards for like kids with cancer or things like that for hospitals, just like as a commission, and then like send those out. Could just be like one more thing we do for the community and like teens and youth specifically, who like, I guess they can't come out to like our events and such, but we can like outreach to them.
Sophie?
Also, like, just like like a lot of people were talking about like doing a team bonding activity. And since we have like a lot less on our plate now, like if people wanted to do that, we could. Thankful, seems fun.
So, can we talk about team bonding in just the regular commission Slack channel where everyone's at?
I'll check. I would,
Okay.
let me just double.
Okay, because if we can, I'm sure Gracie will update us, but let's talk about that there. Because I think what Gracie is trying to say is like, if these are the new things we want to have done, we need to talk about them in these next 2 weeks, pretty much, if we want them to happen. So who is in physical health? Just raise your hand. Okay, because I'm in environmental sustainability and we're gonna talk about our links and our companies that maybe we might reach out for tree planting tonight. And then I will talk to any one of you that wants to volunteer about that, and you guys can decide if you want to do what I suggested or something different. Does someone want to be the one? Either of you is fine.
Wait, yeah. Okay.
I think, yeah, sure, okay. Okay, so I'll text you guys probably tomorrow about that.
Nice. Okay, when is Thursday? It's an April thing. Okay, yeah.
Is that Arbor Day or no?
22nd.
What's Arbor Day? Is that like the 15th?
I've never
I'm not
heard of
sure.
Arbor Day.
Okay,
Okay, anyways,
so if we're all finished here, we're gonna move on to our last thing, which is the calendar reminders, and we're gonna be reviewing our upcoming events.
So calendar reminders, we already kind of went over them throughout this meeting. Big ones that are coming up is Tuesday, March 19th is the city council presentation. So Chloe and Ian will be helping present the updates from Youth Commission. Your next subcommittee meeting will be March 25th at 7 p.m. in our preschool room. They should already be on your radar, but the last couple meetings, we'll just have one more regular meeting like this on April 8th, one more subcommittee meeting in April, then a youth commission final meeting May 6th, and then May 20th will have, hopefully people can come still figure out details, some type of end of year celebration to kind of end your term and also congratulate those who are graduating and just have a fun time. And then on that next day, that Tuesday, the 21st, we'll do that final presentation to city council. I also wanted to share, because this will be great to also start at the next subcommittee meeting too. Well, if there's interest in creating like a video or some type of helping with promotion for Youth Commission, because applications will open, it's a pretty long period of how long they're open for, but they are planning to open on March 18th. So that is next week on the Monday. So they'll open and they'll be open. I have to double check what the deadline is, but it's the rest of March, all of April, and I want to say early to mid-May is the deadline to submit applications, and then interviews will be the end of May. So just want to put that on your radar. There's still plenty of time to get those in and advertise. So, and we'll start to send out info to schools and everything. So it's exciting. That's pretty much all of the big upcoming things.
Okay, meeting adjourned. At 8:25. Thank you all.
That was-